listen to Pimp Daddy 3000.
This is already like a new fucking interface again. I swear they changed this interface for Riverside like every other week. It seems like every episode is a new interface.
That's like the updates for Warzone.
Jesus, yeah. I know.
I have a theory on that.
What's your theory on that?
Video games suck now more than they did back in the Atari days. Did you guys have an Atari? Josh probably did not. You did?
I did.
Okay, and did you have a Nintendo? Did you have a Nintendo? Remember the first Nintendo?
But not until a couple of years after they came out.
Yeah, we always got ours at garage sales and stuff. But anyway, you put the cartridge in, right? Back then, because the expectations weren't that high, but you put the cartridge in and it's just immediate. You're playing the game. You might have to press a reset button every once in a while, but it's the same game over and over. It's fine. And you get the same entertainment value out of it. It may get old quick, but now I'm just saying there was less wait time for the same amount. Well, maybe not the same amount of entertainment, but your entertainment dollar based on wait time now is dog shit, dude. It's absolute dog shit. I waited the other night in a lobby for like 10 minutes. Leaving, coming back in, leaving, coming back in. It couldn't fill the lobby. It's like the wait time is bullshit, man. And we'll just keep buying the games. We'll just keep buying the games. We'll just keep playing them. It's just not getting any better.
Sometimes you had to take the game out and blow on it and put it back in.
Get an alcohol swab on it and pick it up. Put it in. Yep. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we had an Atari. What was it? A 2600, 2400?
Yeah.
So my sister we entered a costume contest at our grocery store, and I won a watch, and she won an Atari, and so that was our Atari, and she didn't even play it. And then I got the regular Nintendo, the first one out, a couple of Christmases for Christmas, probably like 2 or 3 years after it came out. I used to have to go to my rich neighbor's house to play his, because he got something new. Whatever came out, like he got it.
I hated those kids, man.
He was the rich one,
G.I. Joe aircraft carrier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, this is like the 35th anniversary of me not getting the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier for Christmas. And if we're being honest, I'm still a little disappointed about that.
It's a little bitter.
Still a little bitter. Still a little bitter.
Too funny.
So,
all right.
Shopping.
What are we talking about this week?
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. It seems like we had a whole lot of shit to talk about earlier in the week, and then I can't remember, but that's partly because I'm hungover.
Ooh, here's the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier for $500.
Oh, fuck you.
On eBay.
Fuck you.
Dude, that thing was like, what, $59 new? And back then it was like $59 for a toy? Like, you're high.
Yeah, that was like $500.
Yeah.
Not quite, but it would have been like asking your parents for a $500 toy.
Yeah.
Plastic.
Dude, there's no way my parents would buy me a $60 toy. Like, I would get like 2 or 3 He-Man action, He-Man figures, because they were, $6.99 at TGMY. And that was, we call it Christmas.
Yeah, and that's and it's funny because like now, and Luke is frozen with this look of ecstasy on his face, which is pretty funny. But I need to screenshot that. Yeah, there we go. I got it.
So you see the, I guess, second stimulus.
Yep.
Dude. So many people are like, "Oh my God, it took so long. The $600, $600." And so I get there. People are suffering. I get there. People, are out of a job and stuff like that. But let me tell you something. $600 is not going to get you to where you need to be and float you the rest of the way.
No,
like it's just not going to do it.
Exactly.
Right? And so, but the $600, that bill is coming due. That bill is going to come due, and we are going to pay for it tenfold.
No, I totally agree with you, dude. I mean, I don't like any stimulus like that, direct payments. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it's like, hey, if you want to be realistic about it, it needs to be like a $10,000 stimulus to every person. I mean, that's the only way that works, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, $600 does nothing. It's like if you need a stimulus, here's your $5,000 check, right? Which obviously we can't afford, and totally disagree with all that shit. But it's Like $600, like that's what's really going to float you for the next 6 months. I mean, really? No, it's just motherfuckers just want to sit at home. That's what it comes down to. And dude, I tell you what, it pisses me off the more and more I think about it. Just like with the whole COVID, like their small business closed due to the COVID pandemic. No, your small business closed because your piece of shit fucking governor shut your business down. That's what happened. COVID didn't shut your business down. The governor fucking shut your business down. So are you going to have shitty internet during this episode as well, or did you fix that
as well? I'm the one that lives in the third world. I'm the one that lives in the third world, and y'all's internet is just as shit as mine because you're too cheap to get good internet.
Yeah, so that's funny because I don't remember that during the editing process last time. But
what?
Maybe I
remember what?
I don't remember having to cut out 8 minutes of your frozen fucking internet.
Besides mine, huh?
Maybe you should watch the episode every now and then.
Maybe you should get a better fucking platform that we can do this shit on. That doesn't change
maybe you should just fire the IT guy. We'll just go ahead and fire
That'd be
the
great.
IT guy.
I wish we could, man. But this is a fucking communist show where you can't fire anybody. You just kill them. Hey, there's an idea. I think a cat of nine tails would work better. Roger probably never got spanked growing up, man. He probably never got spanked. Nope. No way, dude. He's like, bullshit.
I would say this. My old man, at 26 years in the Army and retired as a sergeant major, I guarantee I got my share and your share of ass whoopings growing up. Guarantee it.
It was my mom who did all the ass whoopings. My dad rarely, but for every fifth one, my dad would do one.
No, man. It was at my house. It was more times than not. It was my mom, but like on days when if it happened within like 20 minutes of Dad getting home, like you were getting it when Dad got home too. Like it was double jeopardy. I'm like, hold on, I've already been tried and convicted for that crime. I can't be tried again.
You can't hang the Constitution.
You'd be like, nope.
Was your dad a sergeant major?
Yeah.
What's that?
No. Yeah. Josh's dad. Yeah. He was a sergeant major. I'm surprised. I mean, I was going to say, all right. Yeah. The reason they gave you so many whoopings is because sergeant majors, they don't do no work. They always at home by 5. Home by 5.
Dude, it was
exactly right.
Dude, my mom and whatever was not. So my mom's a lot shorter than I am. And I'm not tall by any means, but man, dude, it was whatever she could grab that was not bolted down, whether it be a wooden spoon, a belt, like anything hard that she could get some good speed on. Like that was what you were getting smacked with. Dad was just straight hand. Dad was just straight hand. It was.
All right, let's do this. I got some bourbon hunting to do today. Let's do this shit.
I will say I never got a spanking I did not deserve.
In the end, that I didn't deserve because it all balances itself out. But I probably got my ass kicked a couple times for some things I didn't do. But then there's a couple things I skated on that I didn't get my ass kicked for. So it all worked itself out.
I don't have anything to talk about today. I don't have anything to talk about. So this is all y'all's thing.
You don't have anything to talk about.
I don't know what to talk about. Josh, you had the whole thing you were going to talk about. You had like 6 different things. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to set people straight.
I was all revved up, man. I'm not revved up anymore.
We'll see if we can do something about that.
It wasn't not all revved up anymore.
Huh.
All right, let's do this shit. Who's doing the intro?
Through the messages. No, you go ahead, Roger.
Is there anything else you want me to do for the show, or?
Yeah, edit it right this time.
Pretty soon, Lucy's going to be like, "Hey, I'm going to be a little bit late to the show. Go ahead and just start it. Just start recording. I'll pop in when I'm ready." He's such a diva. He's like the Tom Cruise. Go ahead and start the filming. Yeah, there you go. Start the filming, and I'm just going to pop in when when I feel like it. I'll do my little cameo for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll pop back out, and you guys can edit and post all that stuff. Are you guys muted? All right. Yeah, I'm just curious because I didn't hear shit. So I guess I'm doing the intro then, you motherfuckers. Good day and welcome to another episode of Culper's Canteen Cup, episode 44, Quattro for all of my local Phoenix peeps out here. Before we get into it, just want to throw out a quick shout out to Carlton Zeus. Again, thanks for the intro music. Check them out, www.carltonzeus.com or on Apple Music. So we're getting pretty close to Christmas here. It's I think we got 1 week, so like 6 shopping days left, 5 shopping days or whatever. So in the weekly tradition of Culper's Canteen Cup, I went out and bought Summer a revolver yesterday. So because she doesn't listen to this, I went out. Well, no, I can't. So I didn't buy her a revolver because I can't do that. So I bought a revolver that she's going to use, that she is going to shoot. Picked that up from Bass Pro yesterday. So hopefully she likes that. And since none of my kids listen to this either, they won't be telling her what she got. The bad thing is, I think she's actually already guessed all of her presents, because the other day she's like, yeah, I think you got me the Apple Watch, and I know you got me a gun. Just make sure it fits right. And I was like, wow, you're getting pretty good at this. But to start this episode off, Josh is my hero. Josh is my new hero, because he did something this week that was completely, totally savage. It was so we had this issue with hypocrisy, right? And you've got all this, hey, you need to close down because even now you've got the COVID vaccine out there, and I get it. There aren't 500 million doses yet or whatever, but it's starting to make its way out. You're starting to getting into nursing homes and all the other good stuff. But you have a lot of hypocrisy from folks out there. You're not wearing your mask. You're going to kill Gam and this and that and whatever Luke says. Well, finally, I guess Josh, I'll let him tell the story. But finally, Josh called out one of his Facebook buddies and called him out on his hypocrisy. Why don't you go ahead and fill in the listeners there, Josh?
So. First, if I'm your hero, you really need to get out and meet more people.
No, dude, you're totally savage.
So, all right. So so I'll go ahead. It was Johnny. For the folks that listen to this show, they're going to know, because a couple of them, they DM me and they were like, "Holy shit, dude!" And so he has been one of the biggest, proponents. First off, he's super far left. He doesn't believe in firearms because, quote, that's why we have police. He's a retired sergeant major. I can't believe they would let him wear the uniform. I truly can't, because he's just that much of a cuck on everything. And so, but I've known, we've known the guy for ever since 2001. We were stationed together in Puerto Rico, so I have known him for a minute, and we were pretty, my wife and his wife and him and I, we were pretty close friends, and we had that core group of people that we hung out with. They were always there. So anyway, but he has been one of the ones. He's super anti-Trump, and but when the COVID hit, he was stationed in Hawaii. And, it's very stay home, wear your mask, wear your mask at home, don't go anywhere, shut down all the businesses because, we don't want to kill Gam. Right. And to the point to where, when I would post something, he would always comment and weigh in, with his, I can't believe you're going to, you're going out. I can't believe you're going out into, society, to the store. Even, one time he chastised me because I went to Cabela's, up here in Raleigh, and it was, that's unnecessary, blah, blah. So finally his wife posted a picture of one of their youngest daughter and their dog. They were coming back from ballet class. Right. And so I screenshotted it and, posted it and tagged him. It was like, hey, man, what's up? What are you doing? Basically, it was, hey, so, everybody else needs to stay home in quarantine, but you get to go out and do whatever you want to do, right? Because ballet is absolute necessity, to live. Why are you, why are you being a hypocrite? And so that set the group texts amongst our friend groups ablaze. DMs were flying, and in true Johnny fashion, what does he do? He sends my wife and I a message. Not just me. He sends my wife and I a message like, you guys really shouldn't do that, blah, blah. And, even my wife's like, what do you want me to do? Why don't you talk to Josh directly? Be a man about it. And talk to him man to man instead of, involving me and, his wife. It was ridiculous. And so I decided at that point that our friendship had run its course. So I went ahead and I unfriended and blocked him, and that's that. But again, it just hey, if you are worried about COVID, if you don't think that you should, that people should go out, if you don't think, if you think you should stay at home, or if you think you should wear a mask everywhere, to include in your own personal car with the family members that you live with, if you think you should wear a mask in your house, that's fine. Stay at home, wear your mask, do whatever you feel is best for your personal health and the health of your loved ones. But dude, life must go on. And again, it's a 99.9% survivability rate for people our age. So yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm not scared of it. Do I want to go get it? I know, but am I worried about it? Absolutely not. So, and for anybody else's listeners who's on my my Facebook friends list, go ahead. If you start doing the same crap, guess what? You're going to go the same way. We can go ahead and end it right here. Go ahead and reach up there. However you do it, go ahead and unfriend me. You can block me. I truly do not care. One of our close, mutual friends reached out, was like, "Hey man, you guys have been friends for a really long time. How are you gonna sleep? Knowing that you did that to Johnny."
Just fine.
And I was just like flat out. It's like butt ass naked with the fan on high, brother. I'm not going to lose a wink over it. That's just the way it is. I found over the years that quality matters a lot more than quantity. I've been making my circle smaller and smaller the last few years. Using Luke's criteria, the rail car scenario. Who's gonna order you onto it? Who's going to actively, physically, put you on there? Who's going to look the other way, and who's going to happily hop on themselves? So making that circle small.
It's the hypocrisy, right? I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, it's the hypocrisy of it, and the fact that he, a couple things. One, it's fine for them to close your small business down. It's fine for them to limit your freedoms. It's fine for them to advocate for mandates and things that are being found unconstitutional, every week by courts. But you call them out on something. Hey, you stepped over the line. You stepped over the line by pointing out their hypocrisy. And then, so first of all, if you unfriend Josh, start a post first so we can use it for the episode before you unfriend him. Let's get some good banter back and forth. And then you can unfriend him or he'll unfriend you or whatever. But it's the whole, it's like, because that was right after the county specifically was talking about performing arts, ballet and this and that. And they're like, hey, none of that stuff anymore. So, but it's crazy because it's so critical that we shut everything down. Well, we won't shut it down today. We'll do it Wednesday. Right. We're saving so many lives, but so it's so critical. Well, we're going to shut down in 5 days. And then it's like, I saw some of the banter back and forth with, you're attacking the kids, which was a great deflection, right? You automatically go, oh, you're attacking the kids. Well, no, first of all, let's go back to the issue. The issue is your hypocrisy, not your kids. And just like politics, I'm not a fan of bringing family into politics and that type of stuff. But if you bring them in, it's fair game. I mean, it's fair game. You post, you post something that shows your hypocrisy. And if you involve your family members in that, that's fair game. So it goes back to the whole emotional appeal thing, oh, you're attacking my kids. How dare you, this and that. Well, you know what? Go fuck yourself. You're advocating the closure of businesses. We were talking about this before, before we started the recording. It's I was reading a couple of things today, and specifically with like Michigan, where Whitmer is responsible for like 33% of these small businesses going bankrupt. And, and you hear people, you read their stuff, you read their posts, it's like, well, we were shut down by the COVID pandemic. No, COVID didn't shut you down. Your governor shut you down. Your local leaders shut you down. Your mayor shut you down. COVID didn't do anything to shut you down. Your local leaders did that. So, it kind of, although I didn't partake in too much of the conversation because I don't know him well enough, but just sitting back there, just, reading it, it really pisses you off, man. Like just it's the, good enough, good enough for thee, but not for me mentality.
Yeah. And the whole thing of it is, hey man, if you were that worried about it, then that's fine. I am okay with people making their own personal decisions for their health. That's fine.
Right.
I have zero issue with that. Then stay home, but don't turn around and say, I have to stay home. Because at the end of the day, if you're not paying my bills and if you are not paying for the food on my table for my family, dude, COVID or no COVID, guess what? I really don't give a shit what you have to say about how I should conduct my life.
Yep.
Come pay my bills and put food on my table, and then we'll have that conversation. Then you can kind of dictate some of the things I do. But until then, bro, hit the road.
I feel partially responsible. I go back through the messages, man. I was goading you to do something, and when you posted that, I was like, "Oh," like the kid that's like, "Throw the rock, bro. Throw the rock at the window. Just do it, man. Are you scared?" He throws and breaks the window of old man Smith's house. It's like, "Oh, you did it! Oh,
I can't believe you threw the rock. Why would you throw the rock?"
Yeah, man. That was brutal, bro. That was brutal. So I didn't know that was Johnny from Bonnie and Johnny. I did not know that. So that's interesting, man. That was well done, man. Well done.
It couldn't have worked out any better, honestly.
Well, you did. Josh did take the picture of the child down. I'm with you guys.
More than I would have done. That's more than I would have done because I thought it was fair game.
I thought Josh's wife's response was almost as funny as the overall thing. She was like, "What do you want me to do?" That's what she said. It's like, "What do you want me to do? I can't control him."
But that's so Johnny right there, because Johnny can't be he is incapable of being a man, right? And just approaching another man one-on-one, right? He always has to have his wife involved, and he always has to involve somebody else's wife. He can't do it man to man, which, I mean, he's on the far left, so that, I repeat myself, on that. So, but it's, and then they were like, "Oh my God, you posted a picture of a kid." It's like, well, would it have been different if I screenshotted your social media post or just hit the share button? Which, how would that have been different? Because you posted it. I didn't dig through your pictures, right? And then, screenshot that and post it myself. I simply shared your post. So, so people got hurt about that. And I was like, you posted it, not me. I simply reposted what you posted. But anyway,
it's okay. What if you would have posted something along the lines of, "Hey, check it." It's creepy. It sounds creepy, but hey, check out my buddy's kid. I'm so proud of him raising a girl who does ballet. Right? That would have been fine. Well, hey, the kid, yeah. But since it was negative, it's like, how dare you exploit my child? It's like, no, fuck, no. You put it out there.
Post. Yeah, off of your post.
Yeah, off of your post. It wasn't again, like, I didn't dig through, your 1,000, Facebook photos, in your photo gallery and steal a photo, then post it up and be like, "Look at this kid." And it didn't even mention the kid, right?
Yeah,
and again, I mean, it's not the kid's fault that her parents are, two flaming hypocrites. It really just, scourges of society. So, I mean,
hey man, if you want your kid involved, man, don't put them on the internet. Period.
Exactly.
Don't do it. And I don't agree with the people that chimed in, trying to take the high road and saying, "Yeah, Josh, you're right," but it's like, no, I don't buy it, dude. Don't put your kid out there. If you don't do it. Don't do it. You're taking a risk when you put your personal life out there. And I don't think any of us really realize it when we're posted on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, how they can really slingshot back around on you, especially with the kids. But it's like, no, man, it's fair game. It was out there. It's good to go. So It was brutal. It was savage. And it's so savage that it's like, it takes you back a little bit. It's like, whoa. Wow.
There were so many, and there were so many other things like I could have said, like, you think that was savage? Like, I could have brought up, because we know a lot about them, a lot. right? That could have brought up some things that would have basically they would have probably hired a lawyer for, right? For I mean, I don't know if it's defamation if it's true, but there was some definite they definitely have some dirty laundry that could have been aired. But it was like, nope, I'm not gonna do that. Stick to the issue, even after he decided to go personal. Whatever, dude. Honestly, I haven't lost a second of sleep.
Well, and he can't even respond.
Haven't even thought about it.
And that's the difference. It's like he can't even respond with anything fact based.
No, he did, and that's the part that bothered me the most was when he comes back and he goes, well, just because I'm following my governor, and he capitalized my governor's mandates and guidelines, that's nothing to call me out about. And it's like, God, dude. So as long as your governor says it's okay, you're okay. You can call everybody else out, but your governor says it's okay for you to do that. It's like, man, dude, that just really bothered me. I don't know if that's fact-based, but
not fact, but logic for his previous stances. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what
right.
Right. It's like, hey, this is why I'm doing it. But that's the problem with all these people across the board. You're starting to see all of these governors, all these leaders, you need to stay home and, you don't celebrate Christmas. Oh, is that the beach in the background? Is that, where are you at? Oh, I'm in Cabo with my 12 friends. It's like, really? And then you're telling me, it's like we had a teacher walk out, in Luke's old neck of the woods out there by Chandler because they're all scared of catching COVID. Dude, and I'm so done. And I know we've got some good teacher listeners out there, so I get it. I think we have probably 2, but I'm so done with the teachers, a lot of the healthcare workers. We had that whole episode on that. Veterans, all that stuff, dude. I didn't tell you to choose a profession where you only work 9 months out of the year. Your pay's probably, could you get paid more? Sure. But, we had this big thing out here we're being paid. It's like, well, you only work 9 months out of the year. I mean, you kind of knew you weren't going to be rich being a teacher. And oh, by the way, these same people that are walking out, which they did last year as well for pay, they walked out for a couple of days. They're like, well, it's not about the kids. Well, no, it actually is about the kids. It's actually about my kid. And the fact that you walk out because you're scared to catch COVID, but we turn around and we see these same teachers down at Walmart or Home Depot or eating at the damn Golden Corral or whatever. I mean, it's just the hypocrisy just doesn't stop, and I think that's the biggest thing that pisses me off about it all. It's like, if you are truly scared about it, it's like Josh was saying, if you're truly scared about it and you take those protective measures, hey man, I'm not picking on you, but don't sit here and try to sell me this one. At the end of the day, it comes down to 95% of these people want to sit at home, live in their house, play Xbox, eat Cheetos, and collect a paycheck. Period. That's what it is. So just call it what it is. Don't try to sell me on it's for your health and it's for this and that. Because I'll tell you what, I was back in DC for some stuff for about a week. And Monday through Friday, everything's dead. Like, dude, we were driving down streets in DC that you would never drive down. It's like, holy cow, I can't believe we're doing this. So we go back out because we're working over the weekend. Saturday and Sunday, dear baby Jesus. It was like a regular work day, 2 years ago, downtown DC. Everybody's on the streets, right? Because they're all at the grocery store. They're all shopping. They're out eating lunch. They're out eating dinner or whatever. I'm just like, dude, you can't sell me. Just tell me you just want to stay home and get paid for free. Which of course, none of it's ever free because you said, what, we got another round of stimulus coming?
It's all going away because the vaccine's coming out, man. The vaccine's coming out, bros. And we're going to be all good on that. Now, I haven't done a whole lot of research on the vaccine. I know there's the Pfizer one, there's the Moderna one. I started to read up on the Pfizer. And one thing that I wouldn't say shocking, just surprised me about the Pfizer is that this is the first vaccine of its kind, which works on an RNA backbone instead of a DNA backbone. First one ever. And I was reading a information page. It was a .org site, and it looked like, it was straight up there just giving information on the vaccine. And it said, this has never been done before, but thanks to modern science and technology, we can now. And I'm like, whoa. Everything else was so detailed behind this vaccine, and you just glossed over exactly how you did it. It's like, man, I don't want to get into an anti-vaxxer or pro-vax thing. It's just, I think there's a lot of not sketchy things, just as usual with the coronavirus itself, the China virus, the COVID, whatever you want to call it. There's just a lot of unanswered questions, man. Like, I still can't get an answer on whether I should get the vaccine or not since I've already had it. Nobody can answer that. That's like, well, okay, so if I get it, what does that mean? And from what I can gather on it, maybe you guys, I'd love to get your input on it if you know more than me, because I do need to do some more research on it. But from what I understand, it's supposed to mimic an immune response, a natural immune response, and which apparently, according to everything I'm reading, the natural immune response eventually wears away. And because against certain viruses, especially SARS, flu, stuff like that, because those particular viruses naturally go away on their own. Okay, so once the world's seen it once, it'll probably won't see that same one again. So then they're saying the vaccine's only good for 2 years. It's like, okay, what about my immune system? Well, that's only good for 2 years too. And I'm like, what? I don't know. This goes against a lot of what I've learned growing up and stuff. My limited knowledge of science, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. And if the vaccine, if that's true, that it only lasts 2 years, you're going to have to get vaccinated again, because we keep shutting down and opening up. I'm talking specifically about Europe. If they keep shutting down and opening up like they are now, all they're doing is kicking the can down the road. They're keeping the virus alive by doing that, and it's become very apparent that is what's happened here. The country I live in, they don't really have a choice other than to do that, because it truly is. We have to stop the spread so we don't overwhelm the system, because the system is so fragile. The medical system is so fragile. It's constantly on the verge of being overwhelmed. So, yeah, it's just interesting, man. Have you been doing any reading on it? What do you think? I mean, when they offer you the vaccine, are you going to take it? Because, look, man, I'll back up real quick before I kick it to you. Like Roger always dangles that in front of my face. So, Luke, what do you think? Now I'm going to go off of my 20-minute thing and ask you 20 questions. So it always throws me off every time. I should take better notes. But, yeah, so the only reason I would get the vaccine, even though I feel I don't need it because I've already had the virus itself, is so that it would allow me to travel freely, not wear a mask, this and that, But from what I'm seeing so far, it's like you're going to get the vaccine and your ass is still going to be wearing a mask. Your ass still can't go over the border. You're still going to have to get tested. It's all this stuff, man. I'm like, so my wife and I were talking last night, drive home, and she was like, so I was asking her questions. I was doing the Socratic method, and I was like, so why do I have to still wear a mask? Why do I have to still wear a mask? Why does the government here not care if I've had it or not? I just have to wear the mask or I'll get a fine. And she answered the right way. She's like, well, because the government has no way to say if you see 10 people walking and 3 of them don't have a mask on, they don't have a way to know whether those 3 have had it or not. So therefore, everyone has to wear it. That's called taking away liberty. Straight up. But anyway, sorry, Josh. What do you think?
No, you're absolutely right. All right, so to your first question, am I going to get it? I kind of look at any new vaccine that comes out as I'm probably not going to buy a car in its first year of production, right? I'm not going to buy, a new computer that comes out from a brand new computer company. I'm not going to go buy it the minute it hits the shelves, because it's probably got some issues, right? There's some unknowns there. Well, it may be 100% perfectly good. It may never break down on you, but I don't know that, right? There needs to be a test and trial period. And so, am I going to go get the vaccine? If I'm offered it, not right now. No, absolutely not. If this was something that only had a 60% survival rate, a 50% survival rate, if you got it, would I go get the vaccine right now? I probably would. But with a 99.9% survival rate for folks our age, am I going to go right out and get it right now? No, probably not. And then you take a look at, and everybody. It doesn't matter what vaccine it is. I've seen people get blood and then pass right out. right? I don't know if you guys have seen the video. The nurse got the COVID vaccine. She gets up to the podium and she's like, "Oh yeah, grr, 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 grr," and then she's like, "Thunk," she's out. Like she passes right out, And so and then did you guys see the video of the doctor at the University Medical Center of El Paso? They had 5 people get on stage at this press conference and take the vaccine. I'll say
that's the one they didn't push the plunger in, right?
Yes, dude. He gets up there and he's like, he does something, and you watch the plunger. The plunger never moves, right?
It was already.
And then they came out later and they're like, "What's that?"
It was already pushed in. Like the plunger was already pushed in. It was only out like a quarter.
Yeah, it was already pushed in. The plunger didn't move. It was already depressed. There was nothing in the syringe, and even the University Center of Medical Center of El Paso came out afterwards and they said, "Oh, they didn't get all of it, so we administered it afterwards." It's like, oh, that doesn't sound right. Anyway. So again, it's all anecdotal. But you're talking about a brand new vaccine. It went through some very, very limited testing, and so one, I'm hesitant about that. Again, it's like buying a brand new car, in its first year of production from a new car company. I want to see some miles put on that thing before I go, buy one. And then you take a look at, like what Luke was talking about. It's coming. How do we identify those folks who have had the vaccine, right? So I don't know if everybody saw Andrew Yang's tweet, about maybe we could make, everybody download an app. They have a barcode on their phone that could be scanned. So, you've been vaccinated, right? That's put a pin on that for a second. So I think it was WCTV, a news station out of Tallahassee, Florida, posted an article earlier today that the Equal Opportunity Employment Administration can force you, your employer can force you to get vaccinated, or you can lose your job. All right. So let's talk about that for a second, because I think that is significant, right? One, the fact that that organization says, yeah, your employer can force you to get a vaccination or you lose your job. That in itself is absolutely asinine, right? Think about your employer can force you to get a vaccine. What other vaccination did you have to provide your employer when you got hired? What other proof of vaccination did you have to employ show? None. I didn't have to, dude. When I retired out of the Army, my new employer, I didn't have to show them any vaccination that I had. They didn't give a shit. They were like, "Here, you're qualified for the job." Done. Right? But the language in there and what they quoted in that article was super scary, because it is the responsibility of the employer to, quote, provide a safe work environment. That's really, really ambiguous, right? Define safe work environment. What possibilities could that lead to? I mean, that could lead to anywhere bad, right? Oh, no. It's not just vaccinations that provide a safe work environment. It's all these other things that provide a safe work environment, right? And so, again, and some people, show their stupidity by slippery slope is a logical fallacy, right? That's a slippery slope when you're like, oh, safe, quote, safe. What does that mean? So, am I going to get the vaccine? Absolutely not. And, talking about proof, how does the government prove? It is coming, because there's been a couple other people that have mentioned it too, saying that everybody should carry around their little slip of paper, saying, "Hey, I got the COVID vaccine." I'm pretty sure we did that to people. I think we tattooed their forearms. I think we made them wear gold stars sewn onto their clothing. I don't know. I think we stopped them and asked them for their papers. I don't know, Roger. I think we're headed somewhere very, very bad with this, and over something that literally fucking has a 99.9% survivability rate. Like, this is not the bubonic plague, right? And there are people that have died from it, and that's tragic. There are people who lost loved ones, and that's tragic. But it's like Italy. People are like, "Oh my God, so many people in Italy died." Look at all the ages of the people in Italy died. And you know why so many people of those ages died in Italy? Because they had the most. One, Italy's got the most centenarians in the world. In the world, right? Their elderly population was higher than almost any other country in the world. So yeah, absolutely they're going to lose more because they have more. That just the whole thing just it absolutely boggles my mind. And the fact that 90% of Americans would go along with whatever the government tells them to is just that just opens up a whole nother discussion. 2020 has been enlightening for multiple reasons. So,
Luke, I think you had something, right?
Long answer.
I was just going to bring up, I was like, at first, I think it's either the CEO or president of Pfizer. Somebody brought up, and it created a big firestorm. He hasn't even taken the vaccine yet. And I was like, wow, that really says something. And I started thinking about it. My gears started turning in my head, and I'm like, he was advised not to take it, because even if, dude, like, there are adverse reactions to every vaccine out there. People with allergies can go into anaphylactic shock just from getting the flu vaccine. I mean, you never know. I mean, something could go wrong. I mean, a few people develop Bell's palsy, I mean, something could go wrong. Man, it's like the CFO or whoever probably advised him. It's like, dude, there is a 0.001% chance that something could go wrong with you getting this vaccine. It is not worth it. And it's like, okay, I buy that. I buy that. I mean, I don't know if that's what happened, but I'm sure of it. I mean, what do you think, Roger? You think that's the case?
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the reality of it. You talk about whether you take the vaccine or not. I would choose not to take the vaccine, not because it's version 1 or whatever. It's just I'm not high risk. And I kind of, along your lines there, I kind of look at it as elective surgery. Like, anytime you go under the knife, there's a risk, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, we've had dear friends pass away, through clots and this and that happens off, some unrelated, surgeries that they've had or any medical procedure. So I'm just not about, I mean, I generally don't treat my body as too much of a temple as I, pour booze down my gullet every, other night or whatever. So I know it doesn't really go along with my daily habits, but generally speaking, when it comes to medical procedures, vaccinations, this and that, I'm not opposed to them, but I don't want to do it unless I have to do it, unless there's a risk that I'm going to die, right? Like, hey, like you said, bubonic plague. Hey, guess what? If the Spanish flu was out here, yeah, I'd be taking a vaccine, okay? Because the chances are, I mean, you look at the 1918 flu, it's estimated that it actually killed 10% of the world's population, okay? 10% chance of me dying is pretty significant. So I'm like, yeah, I think I'll take the vaccine for that. But for a 0.001% chance that I'm going to die catching COVID, which I think I probably already had it and was just asymptomatic at this point, I believe. But I just, there's no need. But what's going to happen is they're going to force you to take it. Because like you guys are saying, it's going to be, well, you can't go here unless you show the papers. So, and here's my question. A couple things. So if all three of us are in a room together, and you two take the vaccine and I don't, how are you guys at risk? You're already vaccinated, right? So what I don't get, like, the whole showing papers and this, that's like, well, if the majority of folks are out there are vaccinated, it's like, oh, you have to create a safe work environment. Well, if we work together and you two have taken the vaccine and I choose not to, how have I put you at risk? You're vaccinated, right? I mean, that's just the way it's supposed to work. But I think what you're starting to see here is it doesn't fit the overall narrative to support the lockdowns, to support the closure of businesses, to force people to become dependent on the government. Because even now they're like, well, you have to take 2 doses of the vaccine for it to be effective. And oh, by the way, even after you've taken the vaccine, you still have to wear a mask. Well, why do I have to wear a mask if I've been vaccinated? I mean, at that point, if we're all vaccinated, it's like, why do you have to do any of that stuff? But again, it's the lack of consistency from day one. And I get it. People say, oh, well, science changes and that's kind of how it works. Okay. Viruses have been around for quite a while. And I think we kind of know how that stuff spreads. And we've talked about it several times here, wash your hands, don't lick any door handles, and you're probably going to be pretty safe. But it's like, everything changes. And even the CDC now, I think we talked about it a couple episodes ago, where they put out a little blurb saying that, oh, by the way, masks, we have proven that masks not only protect other people, but we've shown that masks protect you as well. So they're already starting to ramp that up, right? Because it's got to fit their narrative. And I think a lot of this, unfortunately, I think a lot of it the U.S. has taken the lead on, because we're the global superpower and this and that. And so everybody just kind of follows suit. But I think they're really just setting it up for, hey, March, it's the spring, it's the new coming, Biden's in office. Look at what I've done for over the last 3 months, and now we can all get back to normal. I think it's a lot of politics, and you're trying to support agendas, which I think is junk, unfortunately. But real quick, so I read something yesterday. I know we haven't talked. Well, I guess we continue talking about the election. We're going to talk about some of the cabinet picks. So how many of you, both of you, would you believe that Minnesota had an 80% voter turnout?
No.
That's incredible.
No. There's no way.
Wait, you have to be careful now, because if this is going on YouTube, their new policy. You can't imply that there was any kind of fraud in the election. You can't, or they will remove your video. Now we're too.
What?
Oh yeah. Now we're too low hanging fruit for them to care. That no one would ever see it. But yeah, dude, you cannot allege fraud in a YouTube video. You can't allege fraud that changed the outcome of the election. You cannot do that on YouTube right now. They will remove your video. Period. That's the new policy. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Josh. Were you going to answer on the 80% thing?
Oh, no, I wasn't. I was just saying, no, I don't believe it, but I was shocked when I heard you say that. I haven't heard that yet.
It'd probably be the best thing for this show if we got one of our videos removed from YouTube, really. So we should probably just go ahead and keep talking. Yeah, 80%, that's high.
Like Roger said. Hey, it's like Roger said, bad press is press, right?
So the question at this point is, back to you, Roger, on this one. The question is, let's just say that there was 80% turnout. Okay, there was 80% turnout. What are the reasons for that? One could be, well, there was something janky going on with the ballot counting, or 80% of the people turned out to vote, which I would guess, and I have no idea off the top of my head, but I would guess that's probably 15 to 20% above normal. So it's like 15 to 20% above normal got out to vote. I think it goes back to what we were saying last week. Or last episode, I should say, is that, man, people either must really hate Trump or really love Biden, or it's got to be one or the other, right? Or love Trump. I don't know. It's strange. So that's kind of a roundabout question, Roger. I guess I'm putting you on the spot. Is there something janky going on, or did this many people just turn out?
There's no way, dude. I'm looking at I've got the state by state turnout rate, which, by the way, from what I can tell, nationally, your turnout rate's around 54, 56, 57% or whatever. So we're not even talking about 5 or 10% here. At this point, you're talking about a 25% increase in voter turnout. So you had Minnesota with an 80% voter turnout, which you would never convince me that 80% of the eligible voters or registered voters turned out to vote. Ever. There's no way you'll ever convince me of that. Colorado, 4%. I don't believe 76% of the people showed up. Maine, 76.3%. Wisconsin, 75.8%. Washington, 75.7%. Do you notice a trend with the states with the highest turnouts? Oregon, 75.5%. New Hampshire, 75.5%. New Jersey, 74.3%. Vermont, 74.2%. Do you notice this trend continuing? This is going top down, right? Vermont, 74.2%. Michigan, 73.9%. We'll continue this trend. Okay, you got a little break here. Iowa, 73.2%. I actually do believe the Iowa turnout, because they tend to be pretty heavy in their caucus. Their primaries. That might be a little bit high for them, but I can see them getting fired up about it, because they do, I think, historically have some higher voter turnouts. Michigan, I already said. Montana, 73.1%. Virginia, 73%. Massachusetts, 72%. And then you start getting to the red states, which is about 70 to 69, 68, 65, which I think in any election, like I get a 5 or 10% bump or decrease, right? Depending on, because we all know it depends, how many down ballot, folks are on the ballot and their cycle. So if your average is 56%, some years you're going to hit 60, 62, some years you're going to hit like 50 or whatever. So I can understand a 5 or 10% bump. You'll never convince me that 80% of the voters turned out. Never. You'll never convince me that 76%, 75. I mean, I think anything like 70 and above. I'm just not sure that I buy that 70% of the, registered voters turned out to vote. I mean, there's no way. Right. I mean, and I'm not saying, hey, you can call it whatever. I mean, maybe we do need to have our video taken down, give us some good press, and we can go bitch and complain on, on our Facebook page. But it's, however you want to break that down, whether it's ballot harvesting or whatever. I mean, that's the only way that you're going to get percentages that high. And it's kind of, it goes back to what we were saying with Biden. You got a guy who lost the presidency. He ran several times and lost. Never made it out of the primaries, and then all of a sudden he gets 80 million votes more than other president in the history of our elections. It just doesn't make sense to me, right? There's just no way that makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Josh? There's just no way, right?
No, there's 100% no way. Especially when that same person, if it would have been 2008, right? And right, if it would have been Barry 2008 and Biden was drawing the crowds that Barry drew in 2008 at the rally, stuff like that, okay.
I buy that.
Maybe, yeah, I can see that. When you're talking about a guy who was drawing less than 100 people to everyone, to the vast majority of the rallies, dude, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Right. And so we all know the polls back in 2016 were completely skewed. And then when the polls came out, for 2020, and they were like, oh, Biden's up, 17, 18, 20 plus, all, 30 in some places. We all knew. They're like, dude, there's no way. Like, look at that rally. There's literally 8 people there. There are literally 8 people there, 6 feet apart. There's no way.
Circles.
You're just like, dude, there's no way that he's drawing that level of enthusiasm to say, oh, he's plus 20, right? It's statistically impossible. And when you look at those states, especially, and that by itself, you can argue. But what you can't argue is the totality of it, right? So you look at what states stopped counting in the middle of the night. What state sent all the poll watchers home and stopped counting, right? Atlanta. So Fulton County, Georgia, stopped counting, quote unquote, due to a water main break. They literally posted that on their social media. There's been a water main break at the Dome in Atlanta. We have to stop. Well, they call the Public Works, Atlanta, Public Works, whatever the name of the company. They said, no, we don't have any trouble tickets. We don't have anything on a water main break there. Okay. So when you start putting all that information together, and again, I go back to, I'm not an expert analyst, but I've done some time. When you start looking at that, there's something rotten in Denmark, right? And it absolutely 100% does not smell right. There's just the numbers don't support it. Historical numbers don't support it. Statistical probabilities, science does not support it. And then you have, now you have the hack, right? They're like, oh, well, 2016, it was, Russia hacked the election. Russia hacked the election and got Trump elected. And then 2020, there's no way our elections could be hacked. It's impossible. There's no way. Those are all legitimate. There's no way our elections could be manipulated. And you're like, what? Like, dude, we didn't fix that shit in 4 years. It took Florida 20 years to fix their, issues from 2000, Bush v. Gore, right? We didn't fix all that stuff in 4 years, brother, right? You take a look at Dominion voting systems. And again, I'm not a black helicopter guy, right? I'm not a black helicopter guy, but there are a lot of people making it very hard for me not to be a black helicopter guy. There are a lot of things going on that make it very difficult for me not to start to say, hey, maybe there are black helicopters, right? You take a look at Dominion voting systems. Who are some of the key people, do the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, people that sit on the board of Dominion voting systems, right? And I'm going to use Georgia as an example. Kip should be in jail. I know you right now, Kip should be in jail. There are multiple people in the state of Georgia that should be in jail. Nevada, they're coming out, and I saw it again. I don't know how true this is, but they were talking about there was 42,000 people who were deceased who voted in the 2020 election in Nevada. 42,000. There were there was about, I think it was maybe 10,000, 12,000. I know I got the numbers just a tad off. They're not far off, but they're probably a little off. People who no longer lived in Nevada, but just got mailed a ballot anyway, because they went down these old voter registration lists and shotgun blasted all these ballots. And people were like, oh, well, the military votes absentee ballot all the time. Mail-in ballot and absentee ballots, the chain of custody is 100% different on them. And if you don't understand the difference, you're an idiot. So do us a favor, go do some due diligence before you come back. And I think, I don't know, I think somebody was making that a drinking game. Titus. Hey, Titus, shout out to you, brother. Appreciate it. So take a drink. I'll throw that in there. Throw that out there.
Hey, matter of fact, go gurgle when you're doing your.
There you take another
drink. We're gonna have Titus shit face by the end of the show.
Yeah, and so you take that one of those things by itself. I would say okay, right? Because I don't know about it. But when you put all of those together in their totality, you cannot convince me. You will never convince me that this election was fair, ever.
I'm with you, Josh, man. And I think all three of us have said that. I know Roger has the black helicopter, but God, I say this almost every day. Up in the office, we have a chance to talk quite a bit just about the current events, the situation in the world. And I'm like, bros, how am I not supposed to be conspiratorial? I'm trying not to be, have a conspiracy theory mindset, but all these things coming together, it's just weird, man. It's really weird. And, you get with the Occam's razor thing, and eventually Occam's razor with all this stuff going on, it's like Occam's razor is going to tell you the simplest solution is there's something hinky going on, and like this latest cyber attack. I don't know a lot about it so far. Again, I've been on my ass when it comes to reading. I've been playing too much Call of Duty and not enough background research for this show. So I apologize to all our fans out there, but, yeah, I think it wasn't a backdoor cyber attack. Roger probably knows way more about this than I do, but they got inside, I think, on some test software that was going out and basically broke all the windows, left the doors unlocked so that when the actual software went out, they knew the vulnerabilities, and they being the hackers, the attackers. And I think Pompeo was the first member of Trump's cabinet to say it either today or yesterday that it looks like it has Russia's fingerprints on it, SVR. And before that, it was like, a lot of, pundits and, talking heads on TV and Twitter were saying it was the Russians. I was like, now hold on, let's just wait and see. Yeah, but now they're saying it was the Russians. And I think what pisses me off about this, and I think it's a sign of things to come, is that, the news media, Axios, especially MSNBC, Microsoft itself, is saying this is an act of war. You've got Dick Durbin and our hero, Mitt Romney, saying this is an act of war. An act of war. It's like, we're already talking about war? Is that what we're doing right now? We're talking about war over this cyber attack that we know nothing about, other than people are saying it's the biggest one in history of the world. Huge cyber attack. And I've been noticing some hinky stuff going on with the internet here and like some of the firewalls and things like that. There's been a couple of new policies at work. We have to get rid of this. We have to start doing that when it comes to cybersecurity. So apparently it's pretty widespread, but act of war, I mean, I don't know. And like Josh said, okay, so it was Russia in 2016, Trump colluding with Russia so that, Trump would get elected. And I guess if you believe that, then I guess that the Russians did a pretty good job. So what were they doing this time? What did we fix? Or did they do this massive hack so that Trump would get reelected, and they just sucked so bad that they were so good in 2016, but we shored up our defenses? It's the biggest attack in history, and Trump still lost. Man, yes, we beat the Russians. This is great. I mean, it just, none of this makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, what doesn't make sense also is a massive cyber attack like this. Why? Why now? Why would you do this now? I mean, I know they have their reasons and everything. I don't want to speculate on that, but I mean, it just doesn't seem like the best time to do it. Maybe they had no choice. Maybe they, saw the back door open and had to go in. But why start messing with things? I don't know, Roger. What do you have to say about the hack?
Well, I would say that I think what the left is saying is Trump just ran the most secure election in the history of our country, right? So you had 2016 that the Russians were all involved with, and they hacked the systems, and that's how Trump got elected. And so in under 4 years, he was able to fix our election system to run the most secure election ever in the history of our country. So secure that he lost the election, right? A couple of things I want to touch on before I get onto the hack. Part of the problem with the whole black helicopter thing, or why it's hard not to get on that bird as it takes off, like nobody from the left is even coming out to defend any of these numbers. Because I mean, here's the thing, right? If I was running for office and I received over 80 million votes, more votes. Okay, so you got to remember this: the population of the U.S. is only 328 million. That's everybody. Okay, if you're telling me that I ran a campaign that brought in 80 million plus votes, dude, I'm gonna brag about that. That's headline, right? I mean, that is, hey, the people have spoken. There is a mandate out there, other than a mask mandate, that they want me to be their president. 80, that's what you're going to read about in the news. That's what I'm going to pump. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? We had an 80% voter turnout, 80% voter turnout in Minnesota, and 80 million people voted for me. Americans have spoke. I am their leader. That's not happening. I mean, because Trump did that in 2016, right? He came out and said, hey, it's a mandate. The American people have spoken. They want to change. They want to drain the swamp. Americans love me, and I'm your new president. And if you're Biden or Harris, you would be doing the same thing. But it's the fact that nobody on the left, even when you watch the pundits, CNN, MSNBC, all this stuff, nobody's like supporting the whole, hey, he got 80 million votes. There's 75%. Nobody's touching that. It's just all being glossed over. So it's hard not to get on that bird. With the going to your cyber hack, here's the tough thing about all that stuff, because there is a fine line on whether it's an actual war, not a war. Is it a aggressive action or whatever? It's really hard to determine who sponsored it, because a lot of your hacks, a lot of them aren't state sponsored. Now, some of them are, obviously, but a lot of your hacks, you go back and we've worked some cases. A lot of it is tied to criminal organizations, because they're trying to steal your crap. FireEye was hacked, or I think they attempted to hack FireEye, and I think they actually took some of their hacking tools. So it's you've got some of the Russian TTPs and some of the code that's generated, but again, you've got large criminal organizations over there as well, and so there'll be more to play out, I think, when you look into this as they continue to go forward to say, okay, was this state sponsored? Was this a criminal organization? Because I think most of the investigations that we've done in the past, or I've done, most of them were actually tied to criminal stuff. I mean, you have a couple intel things, and I think when you look at like your Huawei pieces and this and that, it goes a little bit deeper, but most of that stuff is financial or criminal in nature. As far as something else I want to touch on real quick, when you look at Biden and his cabinet, so what do you guys think so far about his cabinet picks? So we had an episode on the cabinet picks. So we had a couple of additions, and Josh brought up one this morning that I haven't looked into, but let's start with Pete Buttigieg, transportation secretary. So, I want to get Josh's thoughts on good old Pete there being, I wish I need to, when he's talking, I'm going to pull up his quote, because I think, Josh, I think you actually tweeted it, right? Talking about, well, I remember riding on an Amtrak train when I was a kid, and I met my husband in a taxi. So, I'm like, oh, so that's what it takes to become qualified. Because here's the deal. So Pete, and here's another thing. You ever notice that? And Pete he was in the Navy. He's a veteran, you notice that he really doesn't talk a whole lot about his downrange time. And he doesn't do that because, and we know this, and for those listeners out there that are in this community, so if you're an intelligence officer and you were selected to be the commander's driver in a combat theater, guess how good at your job you probably are. I mean, am I right? I'm not wrong.
100%. 100%. So Pete, yeah. So I didn't tweet out his tweet. I retweeted NPR's tweet, which quoted him. And so here's NPR's tweet, and I'll quote: Pete Buttigieg, President-elect Biden's pick for transportation secretary, said he has, quote, a personal love of transportation, end quote, recounting train trips on Amtrak while in college, and said he proposed to his now husband, Chasten, in an airport terminal. And real quick, Joe Biden referred to Pete Buttigieg's husband as Kristen during a press conference, and not Chasten. So I guess, so, you know, and so I posted that, and it was one of those things. It was like, well, you know, I'm a fat kid. I like food. I have some in my refrigerator. I go to the grocery store and get some more. So can I be in charge of the FDA? Does that qualify to me to be charged? In charge of the FDA? Is that?
I like drugs. I like drugs.
I like drugs. Is that how that works? I like guns. I have a few. I want to get some more. Can I be in charge of the ATF? Like, whoa. But for Pete Buttigieg to come out, you know, and say, "Oh man, I'm really proud to, you know, be appointed. I have a love of transportation. I've always had a love of transportation, and I proposed at an airport terminal." That is like, who, buddy?
Hey, I drove here. I love transportation so much that I drove here to this press conference in a car.
Yes. And so Luke pointed it out a couple episodes ago, dude. The next 4 years is going to provide us so much great content. It's just beginning. The cabinet picks, Joe Biden's latest cabinet pick for Secretary of the Interior, he made a point to, the first Native American, to be Secretary of the Interior. And if you go back, and I have to look up her name. I tweeted it out. What was Deb Haaland? All right, so Deb Haaland is going to be Secretary of the Interior if confirmed. And if you go back and you look at some of her social media posts, I only had it, so it came out right before we hopped on here, so I didn't have time to really dig into it. But a couple of highlights. For the cheap seats out there, she believes, quote, the United States was stolen from the Native Americans, end quote, and that we've done the Native Americans wrong ever since then. And stuff. I don't disagree there. There have definitely been some grievances, that are justified, but again, that whole. If you can get people to buy into the white man stole the land theory, then America doesn't exist. Right. That America, the idea of America does not exist right from the get-go. And, you look at the Secretary of Education, I believe it was, and I don't know, I read something else after that it was that it wasn't true, but who knows? But I forget her name. The the transgender, Secretary of Education. You are starting to build that very, very far left, cabinet. You're starting to build that very far left. That pool of nominees and secretaries and directors and stuff. And man, you look at that, you start with the education, you get kids early while they're in elementary school, man. It's hard. It's hard to fix that. I forget who said it, but it's easier to build strong children than fix broken men. And you get them early, the education. Hey, America was stolen, white man bad. Boys can be girls and girls can be boys. That's hard to come back from. That's hard to come back from once that's been inculcated, in kids for 18, 20 years.
I'd really like to spend a whole episode on that one of these days. Maybe we could piss a lot of people off talking about gender dysphoria, the ICD-10, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual 5, and how it classifies those and how that's changed over the years. That would be good. So I'm gonna put a pin in Charlotte Clymer for the next episode, along with Josh's abortion and talking about some of the problems in racial disparity in the United States. Because, man, holy cow, Josh kind of went off the other night, and it's like it's all true, but it's like this is stuff you do not want to say in a public place because somebody's going to get pissed off. But I do think that maybe the three of us should sit down and talk about how we're going to bring these things up. Because Charlotte Clymer, if she is going to be the Secretary of Education, I think that is a red flag in more ways than one. I did some research on her, and she's an activist, period. I find nowhere. I find no evidence anywhere that she's qualified to do this job. I mean, Pete Buttigieg, at least he's got some executive experience. Okay. I mean, honestly, we joke and we laugh about it, but to be a secretary, you gotta be an executive. And that's the very least. You should probably know something about, the department that you're managing. But the most important thing is to be an executive. And I do not see that with Charlotte Clymer. It turns out that the Secretary of Defense is not going to be cross-eye Flournoy. Left eye Flournoy. It's going to be retired General Lloyd Austin. And, Biden transition team was getting a bunch of flack for Flournoy and Anthony Blinken because of their ties with WestExec. I mean, we called that. We're like, come on. I mean, how blind are you? And people were kind of giving him some heat for that. So he got rid of Left Eye Flournoy and brought in General Austin. And it's like, okay, all right, cool. But this guy's like on the board of Raytheon. It's like,
dude, he's not any better.
He's not any better. Not when it comes to like that deep state, if you want to call it that, but that military industrial complex, all these things. It's like, God, I mean, he's not any better. He's not any better. I don't have a lot to say about him other than I do not hear good things about him when he was the commander at CENTCOM. But it's just, boy, these cabinet picks, I'll tell you what, Josh said it best. This is just years of material. So, I mean, our 7 listeners out there are going to get a real kick out of the next 4 years. It's just going to be great. And what I'm really loving is the gymnastics, the mental gymnastics that the right, I'll give it the right also, and the left are putting themselves through right now with the intersectionality. Well, there aren't enough transsexual picks. Well, why'd you pick a white woman? Okay, I'll pick a black man. Oh, well, why'd you pick a man, period? It's like, you just can't win with the intersectionality. And it's great. It's awesome watching them eat themselves. It's the greatest. And one thing I'm glad to see a comeback on is because of me in particular, October 28th, I think was the magic day, a doctor, because period. Hey man, I got a piece of paper that says I am Dr. Luke, period. Just like Dr. Jill, man. She's got an EDD. That's a doctor. And it's an advanced degree. It's like a PhD, but it's called an EDD. And it's going to be Dr. Jill. And people are just tying themselves in knots. They're like, well, I'm not going to call her doctor. She's not an MD. It's like, well, whatever. It's an honorific title. You're going to call her what you call her. But I got a lot of things to say about an EDD, but I don't want to piss off Josh's wife just yet. Maybe later in the episode. Maybe I'll have a couple beers, loosen myself up a little bit. And I think Roger said he wrote down Dr. Jill. So I'm going to let him pontificate on that.
What kills me is like, and I don't care if, she gets her EDD. I give it 2 shits. Not like I know the lady or going to meet her or whatever. What kills me is it's right up there with Biden's Kristen Chasten thing. Oh yeah, I've known them for years. And, Kristen, what's his name? Oh, Chasten. Oh yeah. Yeah, so basically you just made that up. It reminds me of the Howard Stern movie Private Parts, when he's like, he's reading that ad on the radio, and I forget what it is. He's like, some gutter repair or whatever. He's like, these guys are great. I remember as a little kid and this and that. And they're like, grand opening. Well, I obviously just lied to you about that, right? And that's exactly what's going on here. And it's the same thing with Jill Biden with Whoopi Goldberg. When Whoopi Goldberg was on The View, and I didn't watch it, I saw a clip on Twitter or whatever, and she was like, who should be our next Surgeon General? Dr. Jill Biden should be the next Surgeon General. She's a fantastic doctor, and right? Like she knew, she was literally like, she's an awesome doctor, and it implied that she actually went to go see Dr. Biden, for some medical procedure or some medical advice or something, right? And you kind of see the rest of the crew on there like, so yeah, she's not a medical doctor. It's like you just lied, and that's the problem with it. You don't call it for what it is, and that's when you look at the cabinet members, the rest of the cabinet. And I'll go with Charlotte Clymer, and I sort of agree with you on the Pete Buttigieg, but not as much. It's the lack of qualifications. Charlotte Clymer, and I could care less about the transgender thing. I think it's another episode. We'll talk about it. Luke will go on and do his deep dive, but just throw that aside. She was in the Army from 2005 to 2012. She got out as a corporal, so she was an E4 after 7 years. Went to the military academy. She didn't graduate. She left or got out or whatever the heck happened. I couldn't find what happened there, why she left, or he, I guess at the time, and then went to go work visitor services representative at the Holocaust Museum. Went to Georgetown, got her bachelor's, and then as of 2017 was the Human Rights Campaign, manager for the largest LGBTQ advocacy group in the country. So where's the qualification there to be the Secretary of Education? I mean, shouldn't you know something about, if anything, Dr. Jill Biden would be a better pick for your Secretary of Education, right? I mean, if you really want to go that right, that's the person that you put there. Pete Buttigieg, what the hell does he know about transportation? Like, I'm not opposed to bringing people in from the commercial sector to run or be the heads of those departments, because the government works hand in hand with business, and those folks that are in the commercial sector, they know how to effectively and efficiently run companies. And I think that's what Donald Trump did for a large part of his cabinet. And he was very quick to fire folks. He brought folks in, they couldn't do the job. He fired them. But what did you hear on the Hill when he fired somebody? Oh, I can't believe he fired this person. And you look at all the turnover. It's like, well, you were against the pick to begin with. Now you want the guy or gal to stay there for another couple of years. It's like, hey, you're here to serve a purpose. If you can't do that, or you're not effective, then we fire you. But that's not what happens. It's your typical government job, which Luke has, where you can sit back and you've got all that job security and you're going to get paid. Hey, shut down the country. It doesn't matter because I'm still getting my paycheck, right? Forget about me and Josh and the little guys. But that's the problem that I see with a lot of this stuff, is there's just no qualifications that I've seen with his cabinet members. Show me where you've got some background. That's why you get down to where Josh was talking about, we just have too many agencies, because we do. The government's just way too big. But not only is it way too big, it's way too big, and you have folks that are incompetent. And I don't mean that to be malicious, but they just don't have the education or the experience to run those sections. Hey, guess what? It's like Josh said with his analogy with the FDA. I'm probably not the best person to run the FDA. It's not going to happen. You don't want me building your food, pyramid or whatever. That's the reality.
I'm good with you building our food pyramid.
Oh, I'm sure you are. And I'm sure Luke is, as far as the health of our country, that's probably not good. But that's my big problem with all that.
Yeah, it's so to round out the so you brought up the the Austin pick, Luke, right? So everybody remembers back there, Barry's administration, when the ISIS intelligence, those intelligence estimates might have been manipulated, might have been a little off, might have been skewed by sitcom. Yeah, guess who the sitcom commander was at the time? Austin, right? JV team, baby. ISIS JV team. Yeah, no, don't worry about them. They're good. They're fine. They're not a big deal. Yeah, that was Austin. And Austin also came out and stated last week that we do not need to pull out of Iraq, Afghanistan. If anything, we need to basically, ensure that our commitment to our partners in Iraq and Afghanistan is without question. So that means we're not pulling out. We're going to, another surge, because Afghanistan, we just need one more surge. One more surge is going to turn the tide. That's going to do the trick, So, hey, for somebody that's already retired, I'm good with it, man. There's going to be plenty of blood money out there, contracts. I'll hop on that good contractor mercenary train and make a bunch of money, because hey, man, you guys had it good. The United States had it good. 4 years without entering any new wars. Guess what, baby? That's over. That's done with, because we are about to double down on the shit we got, and we're about to start something new. Unfortunately, with the whole Joe Biden doctor thing, it wasn't even Joe Biden that came out and said, "Call me doctor." That's my biggest problem with this, right? I'll call you whatever you want me to call you. If you want me to refer to you as doctor, I'll refer to you as doctor. A good friend of mine that I went out to shoot deer with in Texas last week, he has a certificate from the state of Texas. They gave him when he retired, and he's an honorary admiral in the Texas Navy. So, hey man, I guess we need to call him admiral.
Texas has a Navy?
Apparently so. So hey, we would need to call him admiral. If we're just going to use these honorifics and everything, that's fine. Hey, you know what? And look, you can marry people, right? Aren't you a reverend or something?
Minister, yes, I can marry people in the state of Texas, yes, and perform funeral rites too.
All right, so Minister Jones, Minister, we're gonna call him Minister, Doctor, and Minister. Which one do you prefer, since you have both?
Oh, Lord.
it's just one of those things. Like here, I think it was who was it? Adam Carolla. Adam Carolla said, "Hey, as far as the whole doctor thing goes, if you're on an airplane and they ask, is there a doctor on board, and you don't raise your hand, guess what? You're not a doctor." So yeah, there you go. There you have it. Yeah. But it's just the whole thing. It's like, it wasn't even my biggest issue with it is it wasn't even her that made the issue about it. It was somebody else. Like, you will refer to her as doctor. She has a doctorate. It was like, well, if she doesn't care what she's called, why do you have such a problem with it? Right? This just really, I don't know. That's my biggest thing with it. As far as the rest of the cabinet picks go, whatever, we definitely need to dedicate an episode to to some of that. But I think I really hate to see us get drugged into more wars. I really do. It's just not gonna be good. It's long past time for us to leave Afghanistan. It's time for us to leave Iraq. But we're not going to, because that makes money, right?
Yeah.
Too many politicians make too much money off of wars and the defense industrial base. Take a look at the F-35. The F-35 is made in 17 different states. There are parts for that thing made in 17 different states. You know why they did it that way? So you can't kill it. Yeah. Because there's too many members of Congress that have too much invested in that. They'll never let that thing get killed.
Wasn't it didn't they do that with the Pugo? Wasn't the Pugo done that way?
Usually.
They built it in I
think
so, yeah. So that way it's like, oh, we got support for this thing. We're putting this thing out,
Yeah.
Yeah. They did the same thing with the Yugo. Remember Yugos? Remember the Yugo? That it was made in Yugoslavia, and it was the dictator at the time. His name was Tito, and that was one of his ways to hold everybody together. It's like, we're going to have our own car, our communist car, and every section of Yugoslavia, Bosnia, Slovenia, Croatia, Macedonia, on down the line, is going to make a part to this car. And we're going to put it all together, and everybody's going to get along, and we can all be proud of it. It was one of the shittiest cars ever made. And it's like widely known as one of the crappiest cars ever made. I want to bring up one thing. I hope we have a new listener. The other night on Twitter, I got carried away, man. You shouldn't mix any level of alcohol with social media. And this is a lesson I have yet to learn. because I got in an argument with some dude over something stupid on Twitter, and I was just flaming this guy, just flaming him. And I sat back at one point. I was like, why am I mad at this dude? I mean, based on this Twitter thread, I mean, we should be on the same side. So I did my part to kind of repair it. You know, I followed him, and now we follow each other, and everything's all right. But the thing we got in the argument about was Trump, right? So Trump was cheated, and Trump is going to fight till the bitter end. And he said a comment, something along the lines of, it cost Trump way more money to be president, you know, than he made, which I guess to a point that could be true, but he was tying it into what's going on right now. You know, Trump is, funding some of these lawsuits himself, I think up to $3 million or something. And I personally believe what Donald Trump is doing right now, personally, I don't think he's trying to stay president at all. I think he knows he lost, in my opinion. I think he knows he lost. He's on his way out. So let's milk this for all it's worth. And my whole thing was free media coverage, man. Free media coverage. How much media coverage is Trump getting right now? And how much would a private citizen have to pay to stay in the news this much? Trump's setting up what he's going to do after he's out. I don't know if he's going to start his own, you know, social media, whatever. He's going to take over Parler, or he's going to go over to Newsmax or do something. I don't know, but he's got a plan, and he's getting free media out of this right now. We were talking about, you know, there needs to be another political party. I think that should be another episode in and of itself. If anybody has any thoughts on that, hit us up on the Facebook page. But yeah, I think Trump knows he lost, man. I really do. And I think that he's going to do something after this. And what he's not doing, you know, Roger said something about the mandate. He's actually doing the GOP kind of a favor by making a big deal out of all of this. Because what this is doing is it's creating doubt in over 70 million voters, and it does not give Joe Biden a mandate. They're not claiming a mandate, and Trump's not giving it to them. He's like, nope, this is fishy. This is wrong. You do not have a mandate. So your presidency is in doubt. When I step away on January 20th or 21st, 20th, you know, there's going to be doubt in your presidency. So he's kind of doing the GOP a favor on that. I don't know. I wanted to get that out there because I knew I was going to forget to say it. Roger, do you think that Trump is like fighting the good fight, and he thinks that he's going to be president, and there's going to be some crazy shit going on like martial law? Or do you think he, you know, it's more like I said, that he's just kind of milking this for all it's worth, and, you know, he's going to step away peacefully on the...
You just want me to agree with you. That's fine. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. He's not a dumb dude. I know people, they want to believe that he's stupid, and they call him all these names. He's not dumb. You don't become a billionaire by being just completely inept. But I think, one, he's milking it. But the other thing, it is in Donald Trump's nature. He is a fighter. And I would tell you this, for the 70 some odd million people that voted for him, and me in particular, and I think this touches base with what we've been talking about all week on our chats with all these mandates and this and that. He fights. I mean, too many people, we've talked about the majority of people out there are just pussies, because they'll just sit there and he's like, just keep cutting away. Just keep cutting away. It's like, all right. They just go along. Right. And I'm not saying that you got to be an asshole about everything and get pushback on every little thing, but it's like what I said in the chat to Luke a couple of days ago. Sometimes I go out and almost try to instigate something. I want somebody to tell me, well, you need to wear a mask. Well, you need to shut the fuck up is what you need to do. I mean, what was the one thing I think Josh sent it out with the, about the drinking milk, because it's good for your teeth. You know what else is good for your teeth? Minding your own fucking business.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Donald Trump, is that he fights. It's clear. And again, I'm not going to go down the election fraud thing or whatever. You can think what you want. If you believe 80 million people voted, whatever, for Biden, that's on you. I mean, obviously the Electoral College has voted. That's done. I don't think there was any surprises with the Supreme Court, because no judge is going to go back and take votes that have already been certified and take them off the shelf. That's not going to happen. That's never going to happen. And I don't know that I want that to happen, right? Unless there's something so egregious that we can find, hey, for a fact, here's the logs, this is what happened, whatever. But it's He's a fighter, man, and I dig that. It's he sees there's something hokey here. He thinks something's wrong. I think that the big thing with the election turnout is it's all decentralized, and it always will be. I mean, election fraud doesn't happen. It's not like the old line and block chart where Biden gives the order. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to commit election fraud, and you're going to do A, and this state's going to do this. It doesn't happen that way. Okay, it operates like a modern-day terrorist organization where basically it's decentralized, and you have several folks, thousands of them, at your state and local levels that decide, and on both sides of the house. I'm not just saying it's just Democrats. Both sides of the house do this, because let's not pretend that the GOP, they don't have dirty players as well. But back to your thing, I think it's Donald Trump. One, he's getting the free press, like you said, and I think he likes to fight. I mean, he sees that he got screwed, or he believes that he got screwed, and he's going to fight, and I dig that. So it's from that aspect, I think he knows the clock is ticking. Obviously, January 20th is going to come, and we're going to have an inauguration of a new president, and he'll go do something else. Whether he runs for office again in 4 years or not, I don't know. I don't know he'll have that energy or that he'll actually want to do that again. But he's clearly going to go off and go do something else. So the last thing I wanted to hit you guys up with around the horn, Julian Assange, pardon. What do you think? I mean, obviously he was pardoned. They're also bringing up like Edward Snowden. So Josh, you agree with the Julian Assange pardon? What do you think about Edward Snowden?
I don't necessarily. So I'm good with the Julian Assange pardon, right? Because at the end of the day, Julian Assange, he's a reporter, and by and large, I think the media should report what they have, to an extent. I mean, I don't want the media to, come out on June 5th, 1944 and be like, hey, we're invading Europe tomorrow in Normandy, right? So I'm good with the Assange pardon. Snowden. One thing should happen with Snowden. Two things really. Snowden there should be an extraordinary rendition where Snowden gets snatched off the street, shoved into the back of a van, and the next time he sees daylight, he's standing in the United States. He should stand trial. He should get his due process, right, under the Constitution. And then, if found guilty, he should be punished to the maximum extent of the law that allows treason to be punished for, right, which I believe is death. And he should be if found guilty, he should be punished at, death, and he should be very, very publicly executed. Snowden is not a whistleblower. Snowden is not a hero. There's a lot of people out there treating this guy like one because he exposed, these egregious actions on, the government against American citizens. And some of them were egregious. Some of them were absolutely 100% egregious. But there were other ways for him to address those issues that did not provide our adversaries, a lot of very sensitive information. I mean, there was a lot of what he gave up was incredibly sensitive, right? That did not need to be given to our adversaries. I have zero sympathy for Snowden. Again, he should get his due process, as afforded to every American citizen. Unless you're, an American citizen that gets hit by a drone during the previous administration. But anyway, right. So that's for a different podcast, I guess. But yeah, Assange, I'm good with. At the end of the day, the media gets it, and they report it. By and large, I'm good with that. There are some limitations, on that, but Snowden, absolutely not. Snowden should be buried in the ground in a very, very deep hole. It's just that guy is a traitor, pure and simple.
I'm going to go with Josh on this one. Assange, pardon Assange. And even if I kind of look at Assange, even if I thought he was out of line and, giving away I shouldn't even go down that road. Even if someone out there is like, well, he should have disclosed his sources because, he probably got some people killed. Well, maybe not. But with Assange, it's almost like Bo Bergdahl. That dude has done his penance. I mean, my God. That guy suffered a lot since he went into hiding. I don't know the whole thing in Sweden about the minor thing. That whole thing's fishy to me anyway, the statutory rape thing. So I'm with you, Josh, on pardoning Assange. The guy is a journalist, somewhat. But with Snowden, I'm with you. I mean, the thing with Snowden is there was some stuff that was exposed that's like, yeah, that was bad. Shouldn't have been going on. But I 100% agree with you. He should have gone about it differently. I don't know what the hell that guy was thinking, because he handed over a bunch of stuff that he didn't even know what he was handing over. And that's why that guy is a traitor. And it's like, I guarantee you people got killed because of that information. Hundreds of millions of dollars lost, gone. It just, guy's a traitor. I don't understand it. The Chelsea Manning thing, I guess that person's out on the streets now, I guess. I don't know. But I'm with you, Josh. I'd request it, Roger, before I kick it back to him, maybe go around the horn one more time real quick and do a Christmas thing. What do you think?
You celebrate Christmas over there?
Mm-hmm.
On the Assange thing. So here's my issue with the Assange pardon. There's evidence that he helped Manning reverse engineer some passwords to obtain the information. I think that's where my problem is. As far as the WikiLeaks and all that stuff, I don't really care. I as far as a journalist goes, whether he uses that term loosely or whatever, I'm not. My standards aren't as strict probably as Luke's, so I'm fine with that. I think where my line is drawn, and I'm not saying I don't necessarily disagree with the pardon. It's a little hard for me to get around the, hey, he actually took. It's not like he was a journalist who just was in receipt of this information. He actually helped Manning break into some files and documents, get the password, and then pull them out. So, whether and the whole thing going on with the minor thing, again, I think that's all fishy. If they want to pursue that, go ahead or whatever. But and the Snowden thing, absolutely, I agree with Josh. I'm actually pretty surprised that it hasn't already happened. I'm surprised that he already hasn't been snatched off the streets and found himself not necessarily maybe back in the U.S.
He's in Russia, right? He's in Russia. Yeah,
yep.
Dude, that there ain't going to be no, extraordinary rendition on that. Not in Russia. Not yet. Well, Russia, what they'll end up doing is giving him back just to mess with us.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to give him back. I think what's going to happen is Biden's going to come into office and you will never hear about Snowden again. And one day Snowden's he's going to wind up like Ed Lee Howard, wound up. If you remember Ed Lee Howard back in '85, CIA guy that defected, he went to Russia and he lived out. And then, I don't know, it was like 9 or 10 years later, they found him in his dock out with a broken neck. And they were like, oh, he fell. Right. And that's just, once Snowden, exactly. Once Snowden is no longer useful to the Russians, I think, he's going to disappear.
That's the trap that Trump or whoever pardons him is in. Because if you pardon Snowden, well, now he's not a criminal anymore. Now the pressure is on the U.S. to try to get him back from Russia. So you're giving them a bargaining chip, which, they don't have right now. Not really. They have the bargaining chip is that we want to get him back to prosecute him. But then the bargaining chip from your own population is going to be, well, he's an innocent man and he's trapped in Russia. So yeah, it's messed up.
Yep, totally agree. So you're gonna go ahead and send your Christmas shot out there, Luke?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, because there's no way we're gonna record another one before next Friday. So, just stick together, folks. Got to ask yourself, if you're afraid of COVID, how afraid of it are you? This, like Josh is always saying, this may be some people's last Christmas. It may be your last Christmas. It may be my last Christmas. So make it worth it. I mean, there are a lot of people suffering out there. A lot of people suffering, not on a huge scale like famine in Ethiopia or something, and we are the world, but I mean, the mental health aspect is going downhill. So, remember the reason for the season, whatever that is for you. Be nice to people. Josh, be nice to people. Nicer than, Roger, don't pick random fights with people going down the road. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to say, it's still Christmas. It's not ideal. But look out for each other. If anybody needs to chat on Christmas, our line's open here on Culper's Canteen Cup. So is mine on Facebook. It's just going to be me and my wife here. It's her first Christmas without the kids, so she's taking it tougher than I am. I'm like, first Christmas without the kids. Yes. And the kids are like, and my wife's all mad because the kids, they're older, one's 19 and one's a second lieutenant in the Army and all. I got stories about that for a later episode. They haven't sent us like a Christmas list, right? And when they did send it, when my daughter sent my wife a Christmas list, she didn't send an address. It's like, well, where are you going to be on Christmas? She didn't send it. And then, the other kid doesn't send a list at all. And my wife's all pissed. I'm like, what are you pissed about? We're not buying them anything. This is great. We're saving money. They're not around. We're going to get some peace and quiet. Now, I love the kids. They're great. But Merry Christmas, everybody. I'll kick it to John.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody. For those of you who don't celebrate Christmas, I expect you to go to work on the 25th. No, it is good. It is going to be hard this Christmas. It's always hard around the holidays for people who are already struggling a little bit. This year, it's definitely going to be hard on folks. Those folks who are isolated, away from family, away from their loved ones. So, yeah, be nice to people as much as you can be. If you want to get together with your family to celebrate, then take that calculated risk and do what you think is best, not only for your physical health but your mental health as well. Because at the end of the day, like Luke said, this is going to be a lot of people's last Christmas. Whether they know it or not, it could be my last Christmas. I couldn't even. You know what? I might not. There's a chance I might not make it to next Friday, right? To even see Christmas. So every day I get up out of bed is a blessing because a lot of people are not afforded that opportunity. So that's kind of how I look at it. So COVID notwithstanding, there are going to be some folks that this will be their last Christmas. So, you know who they are. You may not know who they are, but go celebrate with your loved ones because at the end of the day, those memories are going to be what you have. You're not going to look back on a Zoom call or something in person that's really special. So celebrate with your loved ones. Have a good Christmas. I don't know why we can't record before next Friday. Maybe Luke has big plans over there to go play in the snow or do something. Who knows what Roger's going to wind up doing? He's always got some shit going on. He's got a prom. Yep. Hey, Mary, if we don't talk to you before then, Merry Christmas from the Cup. Luke said, if you need to hit us up, you need to talk, vent, just chat with somebody, feel free to hit us up on our social media. You can hit us up on our personal social media as well. So with that, we'll throw it over to Roger.
No, same thing. Wishing everybody a Merry Christmas out there or whatever you celebrate. I'll tell you the biggest piece of advice I can give to folks is, and it's along the same lines of what Luke and Josh just said, you got to live. You got to live, man. So get out there and I would tell you, do something fun. It goes back to our episode that we had several months ago now talking about the drug use and this and that. I read something this morning that opioid deaths were up like 34%. It's something crazy. It's astronomical. So I think there were several years there where there was a decline. It was going down like 4 or 5% every year. And then they brought up opioids and something else. And this wasn't all due to COVID because the way they do the deaths with that, they kind of do it mid-year to mid-year. But everything's up across the board, 20, 30, 34%. So that's pretty insane. And I think what you're finding is that a lot of our listeners know this, that the cure, quote unquote, can end up being worse than the disease itself. So I'd say definitely get out there, have some fun. You got to live, take the precautions you have to take, but don't just stay, locked up, in the basement, zooming somebody or do your tubing zooming or whatever. I don't even, whatever happened to that guy. I think he got fired, right? It's like, what the heck, man? So with that being said, we want to thank all of our listeners out there. We hope that you have a fantastic holidays. Make what you can, man. Do what you can with it. Whether it's getting outside, whether it's seeing family, whether it's hopping on the phone call, go out for a drive, do something. Don't just sit in the house and, with your mask on, talking about how bad, COVID sucks or whatever. But, hoping everybody has a safe holidays out there. Thanks again to Carlton Zeus, www.carltonzeus.com, or check him out on Apple Music. And for you YouTube premium subscribers, your content starts now.
Okay. Great tweet. Great tweet just came out. Listen to this.
What tweet?
So some CNN guy said, New White House officials were preparing to release a statement Friday assigning blame on Russia for recent massive cyber attack, but were told to stand down, according to people familiar with plans. What the fuck? So Peter Strzok, who I follow on Twitter, Peter Strzok tweets, "Dancing with the girl who brought him till the end." So, dude, I mean, the stuff I want to say to this. So I just replied back, tagged you guys in it. Okay, so Peter, if this is the biggest attack in history, was executed by Russia, started as early as March, and Trump is Russia's puppet, then why did Biden win? What the fuck, dude? I mean, God.
It doesn't even make sense anymore. It doesn't even make sense anymore. Like none of this, the stuff that is coming out of the left, like you can't even make it up. It doesn't even make sense. There's no consistency. It's like whatever you can do to poop on Trump, that's what they're going to do. They're going to do it. And I tell you what, I'll be surprised to see what happens January 20th, because when the punching bag's not there anymore, to punch, what do you do? Are they going to? Is it still going to be Trump?
No.
Are they still going to beat on Trump?
So it's like replacing somebody, right? When you get to your new unit, it's like replacing somebody. You can blame the last guy for at least the first 90 days. So
yeah, Josh, man, that was his job for. I don't know what the hell he did.
Man, I'm trying to fix it right now, dude. The guy before me, that guy was terrible. Like, it's going to take me a little while to fix this.
Dude, that's the way I troll these journalists. CNN, MSNBC, they're still like trying to squeeze that turnip for the last bit of blood with Trump. And I troll them. I'm like, what are you going when he's out of office? Dude, the last 4 years, this is all you've been tweeting about. And you go in their tweet history. It's like, what are you going to do, man?
Well,
I think it's going to be a combination. It's going to be everything is Trump's fault. And it will be more than 90 days. You guys know that, man. It'll be at least 2-3 years. Number one. And number two, Trump's still going to be in the limelight because he's engineering it that way. Yeah. Whatever. They're pathetic.
He's not going, dude. Trump is not going away. I think you're spot on. He is setting himself up for afterwards, whether he starts his own, TV network or what. But there's definitely, he's not going away. Don Jr., Eric Trump, they're not going away. So it was ABC 11 local affiliate out of Raleigh here. These guys come out and they post this article with Kamala Harris, and it's like Kamala Harris will be the first woman and person of color, to be vice president.
All that,
right? And it's like, okay, whew. All right. So first off, no, Kamala Harris will not be the first person of color to be vice president. And so I posted that, and some people were like, "What?" And it's like, you know what, man, just do any level of due diligence on that. Any level of due diligence. You go back, and I forget who the president was. It was in the late 20s, I believe. I can't remember who the president was at the time. But Charles Curtis. Charles Curtis was a Native American, and he was vice president. So no, Kamala Harris will not be the first person of color to be vice president. Well, she'll be the first woman. It was like, is that really what you need? Is that really necessary? Is that what people are harping on? Is that what people need to hear? Oh, well, this secretary appointee will be the first, person of color to hold this position, ever in the history. It's like, if you people would stop talking about race, then the vast majority of the country, they'll stop talking about that shit too. And they know, because really,
what do you
truly,
mean, you cares. People?
No, because really, nobody cares. Nobody cares who's filling. Just is the person qualified? That's all I want. Is the person qualified? I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're a man or woman. Just be qualified. Don't be an idiot.
Who's the God? I really was hoping. I mean, God, we have so much to talk about, but I was really hoping that you guys could talk about the two books, give your book reports.
Oh, yeah.
With the white fragility. And
we'll do that.
Mortal
We'll do that
Republic.
one next, because I'm about halfway through White Fragility, dude. It goes right back to what Josh just said. The media, authors, you can put whatever out there. It doesn't even have to be true. You just make it up. I mean, there's nothing fact based. Like, I'm still waiting. I'm halfway through this book, and she had already lost me anyway, because she's like, well, if this is your definition of racism, which was the textbook definition of racism, then that's correct. You're not racist. So what she did was she just made up her own definition of racism and said, okay, well, now you're all racist because of my definition of racism. You're all racist. That she made
and
up.
It's impossible not to be. According to her, it's impossible for a white person to not be racist. It's impossible.
Do you remember the piece when she's talking about Black History Month? And she goes, so I just finished that up. She talks about Black History Month, and she's like, well, then what you hear from the alt-right is, well, where's White History Month? Well, the fact that you don't have to mention or have a White History Month, the fact that it's implied shows that whites are in power and you're a racist. So because you don't have to mention it,
Jesus,
because you don't have to have one, you're a racist. I mean, what world do you live in? I mean, dude, it actually frustrates me, but I'm about halfway through the book. So if I finish this book up by our next episode, then, we'll do a book report.
Do you know anyone personally, on a first name basis who would subscribe to the stuff she reads, read that stuff and be like, yep, that's right.
Yeah, no, I do because here's the thing. Josh, I'm giving him so much fucking credit. It makes me sick, but he said this before with the whole systemic racism, institutional racism. So she throws out these broad terms, right? That everybody's, yeah. So what institution? What bank? Tell me the bank that said that you can't have a loan because of your color. Tell me the federal law that says that you can't vote because you're black or a woman or Asian or whatever. It's easy to throw out these broad generalities, and that's what she's doing. But there's no evidence that she's made. And I actually want to go back through the book because she's made so many claims. I'm like, okay, so where's the evidence of that? That's based on what? Throw some facts. I'm a facts guy, right? You throw the numbers out there, it's going to lead you to where you got to go. But you just throw out these broad terms. So people, it's easy to shake your head and agree with, oh, yeah, man, institutional racism. Yeah, man, systemic racism. Yeah. Okay, so where does that happen at? Tell me that. Oh, well, we don't go down that road because I have to provide evidence.
Nobody can tell you. And that's why I've shut so many people down with that, where they were like, institutional racism. What institution, what specific policy or law on the books right now that is racist, that is holding people back?
Oh, man.
And they're like, well, then it becomes the, the commercializing of prisons and, the majority of, people in jail, are black or, what? And it's like, okay, well, who commits the propensity of, the preponderance of crimes in the United States? And they're like, well, it's only 13% of the population. Well, but they commit over 50% of the crimes. So again, it's not, people are not walking down the street just grabbing up black people and putting them in jail, right? People don't walk past the jail and they're like this big hook that comes out and snatches them off the sidewalk. Like that doesn't happen. So when people say systemic racism, institutional racism, just ask them, say what institution and what law? Which one? Tell me right now. And they can't, because then they go back, they go, oh, well, you see, you're being racist right now. For even questioning that, you're racist.
Which we're not saying that racism doesn't exist. We're not saying that at all.
Yes,
for the viewers out there,
racism exists. Racism wholeheartedly. Racism absolutely exists. But when you tell me that the United States is inherently racist and its institutions are inherently racist, I have a problem with that because there's zero data to back that up. You're talking about a country that overwhelmingly, by the popular vote as well, which everybody likes to talk about, by the popular vote, elected Barack Obama twice. So you're going to tell me that same country, inherently racist, elected Barack Obama to the president twice. I don't believe that shit for a second.
Well, in a future episode, we'll talk about racism. I do believe racism exists, but not on the scale as everyone's talking about. We can talk about what racism is and what stereotyping is and how they're not the same thing and all this. So my wife just sent me a picture. Trump just put out a Christmas picture of him and Melania, and apparently it's making its rounds through social media right now. I think he put it out on Instagram or something. It's him and Melania standing there. They both look great, Christmas and everything. And my wife says, who is that in the background? And there's a presidential portrait there. And I was like, who is that? Is that Wilson? Oh, that's Truman. I was like, I think that's Truman. And she goes, I don't think that's a coincidence. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, Dewey defeats Truman. Remember that? And I was like, and this is like one of their official Christmas photos. She goes, I don't think this is by accident. I'm like, well, yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. Maybe we'll record another one before next week, but that's going to just about do us. We're almost out of time. Just so y'all know, we run out of time on this. Roger's platform we use here runs out of time. So we'd stay with you for another hour, but we've got to let you go. So thanks for dropping by the cup, and we'll see you next time around. Peace.